Hello everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to another edition of the Stargirl Season 2 review series. And today I am going to be talking about episode 12, Summer School Chapter 12, which I've just finished watching. And this episode was exactly as every episode has been in Season 2. Absolutely fantastic, very well written and very well executed, and this episode did an excellent job in building up to the season 2 finale of the show. And this episode pretty much picked up where we left off at the end of episode 11, where we saw the Shade sacrificed himself to rescue Courtney, Dr. Midnight, and Cindy Burnham from the Shadowland, where Eclipso had imprisoned everybody. And this episode saw Courtney more or less trying to put the JSA back together in preparation for the big final battle with Eclipso, and even having to turn to Cindy of all people for help just made this even more impactful. And also we saw the return of Yolanda, who quit the JSA after being consumed with guilt over her part in the death of Brainwave back in season 1, and she basically hung up her Wildcat costume and said that don't ever make me put on the costume again. I'm done. So we basically saw Yolanda return, and she more or less has said, I'm doing this for the good of the JSA, but this doesn't necessarily mean I'm back. And of course, Cindy was back to being her evil, spiteful self, as always, trying to drive a wedge in the team and the friendship of Courtney and Yolanda and all of the rest of the members of the JSA. And it was also cool to see Beth and Chuck, that's Dr. Midnight, actually meet each other face to face in the flesh after having a very interesting communication with one another for all of season 1 and for the second half and most of the duration of season 2. So lots of things were going on here, and this is all building up to, of course, as I mentioned, the season 2 finale, which is episode 13. But more on that later on. But as I said, this episode was absolutely fantastic, and I really enjoyed season 2 a lot. So, with that all said, let's get straight into it. Let's talk about episode 12, Summer School, chapter 12. So, this episode picks up where we left off at the end of episode 11, and we see Courtney and the family coming home to find her staff chasing the dog. And then we cut back to 4 hours earlier, where we see Beth is excited Courtney is coming home. Pat helps Chuck get comfort in a suit. Chuck wants to stop Eclipso. Meanwhile, Beth arrives at Courtney's to find Cindy, who wants to help find Eclipso as well. And we see Jenny is with Beth and looks very nervous. Beth comes face to face with Chuck. Beth has so many questions and literally fangirls the hell out of meeting a Jsa Legend in Dr. Midnight. Chuck wants to team up with her to take out Eclipso. So I think it's pretty cool that, we're getting new JSA member meeting an original JSA member. And I think it's quite clear that we're going to see the original JSA appear in the season finale and team up with the new JSA to take down Eclipso because it just makes perfect sense. The original team had beef with him back in the day, and the new team have beef with him also in the present. So it just makes perfect sense that the two teams will come together, which it looks like it's going that way. We see Courtney talks to Barbara and Pat. She still doesn't trust Cindy, but they need all the help they can get. Mike is across town working on something and they wonder what he is doing. Barbara brings Jenny tea. The ring, they make her tired. Courtney tracks down Yolanda. They need her too. Yolanda won't return to help them. She tells her she already murdered two people. And we see Cindy very evilly watches from a distance. Pat goes to meet Rick's guardian. He won't drop the charges. Pat shuts the hospital blinds and warns him. He knows he is bad and took advantage of Rick. Mike makes it to his destination. He talks to a young guy, Jakeem, about the JSA. In the kitchen at home, Barbara hears a voice and feels a presence. Courtney comes in just then and she tells her that Yolanda isn't coming back. Courtney confesses her mum said some things to her in the Shadowlands. Barbara tells her that it wasn't real. Barbara has no regrets about raising her on her own. Cindy pays Yolanda a visit and tells her that they don't need Yolanda because she is the weak link of the team. We see Cindy taunts her. Yolanda gets angry and Cindy says, I like that file. I've missed that. And then she disappears. See, this is what we said before about you can't trust Cindy because, she was the main bad guy back in season 1 and she was trying to put together a new Injustice Society to stop the JSA. So, I wouldn't trust her either. Mike talks with Jakeem about who the Thunderbolt chose. Mike tells him to keep the pen, but then he needs help to help save the world. Jakeem agrees to help. Meanwhile, Pat picks up Rick and he tells him his uncle dropped the charges and he has no idea. Courtney talks with her staff in the basement and we see Yolanda shows up and she tells her about Cindy. Yolanda is now game to help. Jenny sleeps and has nightmares of the little boy. That night, Cindy tells Courtney to be ready to be evil if they want to beat Eclipsa. Jenny continues to have more nightmares. Rick reads up on a few things at Pat's garage, and then we see Jakeem and Mike do the dishes at his house. Yolanda finally takes back her suits from Courtney. Cindy calls someone to come back to Blue Valley. Beth uses her goggles, but they're freezing up. They need a bigger computer, she tells Chuck. We then see a little boy appears out of nowhere. He tells them out of the darkness within. As we all know, the little boy is Eclipso. He needs them all there, and he declares that he's going to be their god. And then at the very end, we see Jenny has visions of Courtney turning evil. And that's how we end episode 12, and that wraps up my review. Like I said before, excellent episode. Really enjoyed this one a lot, and I am more than pumped for the season finale of season 2. And I can't wait to see how all of this is going to play out. Will we see Jenny become the Green Lantern? Could we see Alan Scott appear? Lots of questions are going to be answered and more in the season 2 finale. So that's going to be it from me. I am going to wrap this up now. What's your thoughts on Cindy working with the JSA? Do you think she can be trusted, or do you think there's still a possibility that she could turn on them and join with Eclipso? And also, how do you feel about Yolanda returning? Are you happy that she's Wildcat? And also, do you think she will be back with the team permanently, or do you think this could be a one night only affair? And also, what about Jenny's visions at the end with Courtney turning evil? Do you think that could come true, or do you think that's just Eclipso playing more mind games with the JSA members and their friends? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below. And I will see all of you next time for the final edition of the Stargirl Season 2 review series, where I am going to be talking about episode 13, which is, of course, the Season 2 finale. And I'm more than pumped for that, and I can't wait to see it. So until next time, take care, everybody, and stay safe. And once again, thanks for listening.